Right, good morning and thank you very much for joining me again today, 4 February 2020. And today I want to explain a little bit on why Mnangagwa is not able to do anything about Kuda Tagwirei. And Kuda Tagwirei, who is popularly known as Queen Bee, after he was exposed by Esi Lumumba about 2 years ago. You remember the time that Esi Lumumba made the same allegations against Kuda Tagwirei that are being made by Louis Matutu and Godfrey Tsenengamu. These allegations against Kuda Tagwirei are that he has captured the state and he's the one who is making the economy of Zimbabwe fail to run properly. Now, the question is, why is Mnangagwa not able to do anything about Kuda Tagwirei? He has been exposed so many times, and Mnangagwa has been sending other people to talk about him, to bring attention to him. First, it was Esi Lumumba, who was working for Mtuli, basically. He was doing Mtuli work by exposing Kuda Tagwirei. And then later on, this team, which is there now, Louis Matutu and Tsenengamu, I'll show you whose work they're doing. But basically, all of them are working for Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa, frustrated by the fact that the economy is not moving, wanting to make changes, but not being able to make those changes, and not being able to confront or limit the activities of Kuda Tagwirei. So Kuda Tagwirei, as we speak, he's probably controlling more assets than any other person in Zimbabwe. And when we talk of assets, we're talking of cash, we're talking of mineral resources, we're talking of mines, actual mines, and we're talking of command agriculture. So this man is very strong in terms of ownership of what we can call primary industries. And then at the top, he's very strong owning the financial service sector. So he's moving now into the financial services sector. He has finished with the primary industries, which is agriculture, mining, and construction. So those areas he has totally taken over, and now he's moving to banking. And when he moves to banking, it means he's going to be able to control the currency. Now, the question is, if this man is able to control so much, and I forgot fuel, he's in control of all the fuel imports into Zimbabwe, and he owns that contract which is managing the pipeline, which comes from Beira to Harare, to Masasa. So he basically controls everything. Why then, after he's exposed so many times, is Mnangagwa not able to move against him? Firstly, yesterday you could tell that Louis Matutu and Godfrey Tsenengamu, they didn't want to mention the name of General Chiwenga. Kuda Tagwirei is being protected by General Chiwenga, and I've been saying this for a while now. He's also working with people at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. So this is a very strong connection. The factions within ZANU-PF are divided. One side controls the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. The other faction controls the Ministry of Finance. The guys who control the Ministry of Finance, Mtuli and Mnangagwa, they are powerless to do anything about what the guys at the Reserve Bank are doing, which is where Kuda Tagwirei is getting his power. If he wants to do something, all he has to do is to go through John Mangunjga. But the question is, why was he not mentioned yesterday? Why was John Mangunjga not mentioned yesterday? According to the sources that I have, Louis Matutu and Godfrey Tsenengamu were actually paid the previous day before this interview. They were paid, and the list that they presented yesterday and the information that they presented was sort of watered down. They did not present all the information that they initially wanted to present. Now we got the question of who sent them to present the information. And my sources say that Chris Mnangagwa is responsible for sending Louis Matutu, Godfrey Tsenengamu to do that press statement. He's the power behind the two guys. But remember, Christopher Mnangagwa is also working very closely with Mnangagwa. His wife is in the Ministry of Information. So this is one faction. This one faction which is pushing an agenda against another faction. But the question still remains. Why can't Mnangagwa openly move against Kuda Tagwirei? And the revelation that my sources said is that Kuda Tagwirei is untouchable. Nothing is going to happen to him. He can even refuse to come before any parliamentary portfolio committee. He can do anything because he represents the interests of the Russians in Zimbabwe. So this is what this guy said. He said Kuda Tagwirei represents the interests of the Russians in Zimbabwe. All the partnerships that he has, that the Russians have in Zimbabwe, they are somehow linked to Kuda Tagwirei. Also, he also works with the Chinese, like the situation there at the Frederick Becker mine. The Chinese are in there, Kuda Tagwirei is in there, as was exposed yesterday by Louis Matutu and Godfrey Tsenengamu. So, because he's got this connection to the Russians, he's untouchable. He's untouchable because the Russians have also paid Mnangagwa, they've also paid General Chiwenga. So both men have taken payment from the Russians. This is what these guys have said to me. I don't know how they took the payment. I don't know if it was just a matter of them being involved in the deals. But my source says Mnangagwa and General Chiwenga have both taken payment from the Russians. And so they cannot move against the man who represents the Russians in Zimbabwe. Now I want to conclude, and this is where I think this is very important. The problem we have in Zimbabwe is we're now having an economy based on the primary sectors. If our economy is to develop, you need your economy to be based on tertiary sectors, on innovation, technology, banking, things like that. What is happening now in Zimbabwe is our leaders, because they are captured by these deals that they make with these foreign countries or these foreign companies, they no longer spend their time working on developing a working secondary and tertiary industry. So you can see in Zimbabwe that internet access is very, very low. The government is doing nothing about it. In other countries, government provides free Wi-Fi all over the place. If you go to Pretoria right now, there's a lot of free Wi-Fi for all ratepayers. If you go to other countries, I think there are projects, similar projects in Rwanda, in other countries where development is taking place. So our leaders, they do not see the importance of working on those secondary industries, on creating hubs, which is where young people need to be developing. If you create a spirit of entrepreneurship, then the primary industries, they're not a big part of your GDP. So in South Africa, mining, agriculture, and construction, they all make less than 30% of GDP, the last time I checked. In Zimbabwe, mining, construction, and agriculture, they probably make more than 70% of the industry there in Zimbabwe, which is a problem because the majority of the population cannot be employed in those three sectors. You need to create opportunities somewhere else, in banking, in construction, in retail, in IT, especially IT, because when you have a good IT sector, it creates other opportunities because it's easy to start a business in IT. In media, imagine if we had 100 Gamba comedians, TV stations, production houses. So those kind of industries which are in the tertiary sector, they don't need a lot of capital to start. But because our leaders are so busy cutting deals where they can get 1 billion to share, if they cut a platinum deal, they are blind now to the need to develop a tertiary sector that will create employment. This is the big problem with people like Kuda Tagwirei when they own so much of a country. Then they actually affect big things like employment, availability of cash, because they are controlling the primary sectors and they are distracting your politicians. The politician cannot see now what he needs to do to develop the country. He is satisfied with the money that has been given. He's no longer interested in developing the country. And if you come up against him, the politician is going to send people against you and you're going to be in trouble. Because these primary sector industries, they also come with a lot of problems. A company that is coming into a country in a corrupt way, they can actually start affecting your democracy. They can start affecting your elections because they are there in the wrong way. They got there through the wrong politician. If he wants to rig an election, they can actually start funding such a thing. So this is what I wanted to say. Mnangagwa unable to move against Kuda Tagwirei because of the Russian connection. He is not able to do anything. He's going to keep sending people on the side, but they will never be able to directly confront or do anything about him. Right, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back later with a guest as we discuss more around this topic. Thank you very much.